Do you have anything you want to say to your fans?
With the help of Twitch Prime, I immediately managed to pop off.
Well, that's all we have here, so back to you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and the Overwatch League is back and it's absolutely glorious. Alright, what we're going to do in this video is take a look at some of the stuff which has happened. And yes, I am going to show you Dafran playing Torbjorn in a pro game and absolutely owning the man is a machine. But before we get into that, I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk about Spitfire. You guys know I'm slightly connected to Spitfire. And yes, we are the reigning champions. However, we kind of got bodied by Philadelphia. Now, I think, you know, we gave a good showing on Volskaya when we were allowed to play DPS heroes. Apart from that, though, London's GOATs, it's a little bit ropey. And as we've seen throughout this series, Philly kind of came out and, well, they did a number on London, which was slightly unlucky, at least for me. However, there is a very strong British connection on Philadelphia. You've got Hayes, the coach, and you've got Boombox, and you've got Chris, the assistant coach. So my loyalties are kind of a bit torn, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen London win. But yeah, they did get battered, which is unfortunate. All right, let's talk about Fusion. So keeping the British sort of vein going. Look at this. This is Jonak. Fusion's Gosu, 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 Gosu. Now, if you're not familiar with what Gosu means, guys, it basically means you're amazing. It's super good. You're awesome. It's Korean for really top tier player. Now, Fusion's has got a super, super, super interesting story how he actually got to this point. So essentially what happened is Gamsu, who was the main tank, or one of the tanks for Boston, got sold to Shanghai because Shanghai's tank Fearless is ill and Shanghai have got no replacement tank and Shanghai would actually like to win a game. But then you've got Axiom as well, who's also a really good tank. But anyway, they bring in Fusions. He literally flies in 2 days before this game, jumps straight into the team, and he's an absolute beast. Now, I'm loving this from Fusions because, yeah, okay, NYXL did go on to beat Boston in this series, and that's unfortunate. But I've got to say, guys, Fusions is a major talent. He's a tank player that really leads from the front. He's very vocal. He's constantly talking to his team. It's very concise, fast information he gives out. He is essentially the reason why UK did so well at the Overwatch World Cup. I mean, look at these shatters. It's just, he's an absolute beast, this player is. So good. So I'm so happy to see this. So while this is running in the background, let's just go over what kind of happened with the other games as well. So obviously, NYXL win 2-1, which is, you know, Boston gave a good showing of themselves. They do actually take this map non-Barney, which is super good for them. Obviously, Philly beat London 3-1. I mean, it was a little bit closer, I guess, than the score suggested, but London were sort of outplayed. Philly did deserve the win. London did give a good showing, though, when they got to play DPS heroes on Volskaya, which was pretty funky. Seoul Dynasty took out LA Gladiators 3-1, which was the whole sort of Fisher against Gladiators sort of rematch, grudge match, whatever you want to call it. And then the Shanghai Dragons lost again, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone. And they got hammered by Hangzhou Spark. So that's unlucky for Shanghai. I mean, how long are Shanghai going to go before they actually win, ladies and gentlemen? This is the big conundrum in the Overwatch League. I mean, are they going to make... Oh, well, it's 42. It's 41 or 42-0. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It's bad times if you're a Shanghai fan. All right. And then we move on to Toronto Defiant against Houston Outlaws. Now, this was actually a really good game. I watched the entirety of this game live. Now, a lot of these games are on at really bad times if you're in the UK or even if you're in Europe, but Toronto Defiant versus Houston Outlaws was very, very close. Houston, again, showed that sometimes they can be a little bit inflexible, and Toronto did kind of abuse that throughout the series, even though Houston did go up 2-0 in the series, and Toronto managed to bring it all the way back and win at the end. So it was a really close game. But, yeah, I think Toronto did actually look the better team there with that matchup, but Houston are still... They're dependable Houston, right? They're good at what they do. They're just maybe a little bit inflexible at times, which is kind of unlucky. Then Atlanta Reign, which we're going to get onto in a second, because we really need to talk about this Torbjorn from Dafran, because it's so good. The other one, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where we get a little bit of added spice. Actually, before we get into that, let's just embrace and enjoy this wonderful victory for Boston. So look at that, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. There you go. I mean, you would be so pumped. Look at Fusions. He's pumped. He knows it. He loves it. Anyway, let's get onto the spice. This is Jane. You probably know who Jane is. So Jane comes out and he says, hopefully the Houston Outlaws can stay Texas hard a little bit longer next time. Got to work on that stamina, boys. This is because, well, they didn't go the full distance, did they? Well, they went the full distance then. Came up short at the end against Toronto. it's all well and good having a bit of banter, a bit of spice. I like spice. I like banter. It's good stuff. But then Dallas got completely bodied 4-0 in a very one-sided game against San Francisco Shock. Now, it must be said, San Francisco Shock are very, very good. So we'll have to wait and see how Dallas perform in the next couple of games. But it wasn't really very inspirational from Dallas. All right, then. Let's talk about Dafran, the absolute madman. Busts out the Torb on well, which, to be fair, this isn't actually a bad idea. Now, Florida, we should probably talk about these guys. Oh, my God, they are bad. I am so sorry. I don't really know how else to kind of explain this. They are like basically Florida and Shanghai. There has been no change since last season if these first games are anything to go by. Now, yeah, okay, sure. First game, look at this. I mean, what would you even do? Like, I just would be like, I would be fuming if I was a Mayhem player here. You just getting bodied by Dafran in his first game. He's playing on Torb. I mean, what do you even do? It's just like, what? But look at their comp. Look at Atlanta's comp. Dafran, he's on Torb, obviously. We've got Zen. We've got Hanzo. And then we've got the Orisa, the Diva, and the lovely Lucio. And they're going up against, well, goats, basically. Well, it is goats. There's no basically about it. It's Winston Goat. So it's yeah. They just got beat bad, like really bad. Anyway. Before we go into a bit more of this game, yeah. So the Mayhem, Shanghai. I don't really know what to say about these teams. It's like they've had the chance to maybe work on their teams a little bit, and they appear to have squandered it. I mean, it's really early days, as in they've only really played one game, but the signs are not great. I mean, if Atlanta can come out like with a brand new team, I guess you could argue as well, Florida is kind of a brand new team. I mean, you've still got Tavik, who, you know, he's been there for God knows how long. He's one of the old guard of Overwatch, but it's like, is his time done? You know, maybe it's time to hang up. I don't know, hang up the old gloves or the Orisa. No, it's not Orisa. It's the Brig Mace. I don't know, guys. It's unfortunate, but yeah, Dafran busts out the Torb. Everybody's like, I can't believe this. The absolute madman. And it works just because Florida are... I mean, they took so long to engage that fight there. They finally engaged. They take 2, 3... I mean, look at that. It's just... It is kind of embarrassing, really. Like, there are a lot of things they could have potentially done here to work around this. I mean, okay, the comp they've got is obviously really strong because it's GOAT. So Florida could have just been maybe a little bit more decisive, got into the fight quicker. They could have switched up. They could have looked at different heroes, try and counter what Dafran and these guys are trying to do with the Torb just sitting on the point. Because, I mean, look at all he's doing. He's sitting on the point behind an Orisa barrier and just spamming away. And they don't seem to have an answer to it. And it is really depressing. But anyway, I'm loving it, guys, right? You know what I've been like recently with Overwatch, and I feel like I'm in a really good place right now with my gaming sort of life, right? I've got, obviously, Apex Legends, which I'm playing a lot of, which is really fun. But then I get to watch a load of high-level Overwatch. And this is the thing, right? Overwatch is beautiful when it's played in coordination. That's why it's difficult to play on ladder, and why you get really frustrated playing the game is because, well, you're not playing in a coordinated team. But when you get to watch coordinated teams, it is so good. And I forgot how much I really enjoyed watching this. And I've been watching a lot of Contenders, but Contenders is fine. It's just not Overwatch League, is it? Overwatch League has got all the added extra spice. You've got all the teams. You've got all the personalities, which, you know, the personalities are everywhere. You look at guys like Dafran, you look at Jane, you look at well, anybody. I mean, I was going to say XQC, but XQ's not. He's not in Overwatch League, guys. He's actually part of the Gladiators Legion Contenders team for probably visa reasons, not actually to play, because he probably would like to stay in the US. Anyway, I digress, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun to watch, right? And I'm looking forward to the games today. We've actually got London versus Paris, which I think is going to be a really huge game. Now, Paris, they've got a pretty good GOATs, right? And GOATs is the meta, whether you guys like it or not. There are various bits of stuff you can do on certain maps, and I think we will see some spice out of London. But the thing is here, I think Paris could quite... Well, they've got a good chance, right? I hope London win. I hope London go in and take that win. If they don't, it's going to be, well, a 2-0 or an 0-2 opening week for London, which isn't ideal considering you're supposed to be the defending champions, which is not great. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Again, my loyalty is kind of torn because Paris does have Cruz. So another one of the awesome UK players that performed so well in the Overwatch World Cup that actually managed to get through to Overwatch League, which is super cool for me. Then we've got Washington Justice. First time we see that team against NYXL. Now, that is huge, right? That is really, really huge because you've got Wizard Hayoung, who was the old NYXL coach, who claims to be a genius, but we're going we're gonna find out, ladies and gentlemen, if he is, because he's now the head coach of Washington Justice. So that's going to be a pretty good. Actually, that is a grudge match just coming straight out of the gates there. Obviously, those states are pretty close to each other as well, which is awesome. And then you've got Valiant against Spark, and then we've got Titans versus Shanghai. Titans will destroy Shanghai, I believe. Houston Outlaws against Boston. That's going to be close, actually. Philly against Atlanta. I think that's going to be a funky one to watch as well. And then Shock against LA, which I think we've got to give that to Shock, given how amazing they played against Dallas. And then on Monday, although it says Monday, but it's not Monday because this is 12:30 a.m. So, yeah, great times, Blizz. Soul Dynasty take on Dallas Fuel. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Dallas can do. But there you go, guys. I'm in Stylosa. This unit loss. It's been a bit of a roundup as to what's been going on with the Overwatch League. I'm really enjoying watching it. I'm not a fan of the times because I don't live in the US. But there you go. Some things never change. All right, guys. I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.